We're here at Country Boy Brewing Company testing our audio. Today's adventure takes me to Central Kentucky, known for its horses and bourbon, but also craft beer. And today I'm going to find out how an idea turned into a multi-million-dollar business and how you can take some of these small key principles and start your own adventure in business.
Yeah, he's taking out lunch.
Yes, what's up, man? How are you? It's going well,
Good
man.
to see you, man.
Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, dude, yeah. How you been?
Been good.
Yeah?
Busy.
Good. How's Do Good?
It's good, man.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, having fun. All right, well, we have 12 beers up here on your draft list, and it's probably a respectable time to have a beer, I would say. wouldn't
It's
you?
never a bad time in this building to have a beer.
So out of these 12, what are you having?
I started drinking this past week Glimpse of Nature a lot, and it's a fantastic beer.
Glimpse of Nature is a collaboration beer that Country Boy did with Maine Beer Company to celebrate their 10th anniversary. This is a collaboration that DH is most proud of because Maine Beer is one of the top ranked breweries in the country. And also, I gotta point out, there's another great company in Maine that you might be aware of, and that is LL Bean. Back to the video.
I think they're very close to that.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I mean, Maine's not a big place, so it's like...
I want to say, because we were talking about the proximity of Georgetown to the Toyota factory. You know, all the Toyota employees that come over to the taproom at Georgetown, you know, some of them daily. But it's like if there's any type of event that happens with a retirement party, a birthday party, or a shift party, or whatever they're doing for one of their teams, like it usually happens at the taproom. And Dan from Maine was telling me that LL Bean is kind of the same way, it's just a symbiotic relationship with Maine beer as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's have one. How about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
So take me back to like before Country Boy. Like, what is DH doing before Country Boy?
So I've done just about everything if I look back on it. I've been blessed to travel a lot. After grad school, I was kind of spinning my wheels a little bit.
All right, so you went to college where?
Went to college, Georgetown College.
Okay.
I grew up in Scott County.
Okay.
I like to joke, you know, I went to Scott County, Sadie'ville Elementary School back in the day when that was open, all the way to northern where my kids go now, elementary, Scott County Middle School, Scott County High School. Time to go to college, just spread my wings, and I went to Georgetown College, right in the middle of downtown Georgetown. And then I really, you know, wanted to get out and see the world, so I went to grad school at UK. So at least I left the county for that for that experience.
You went 20 minutes away.
Right. But I was kind of spinning my wheels after that. I was, you know, working at Honda shop, motorcycle shop in Richmond, and living in an apartment in town, and didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't know. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I got the opportunity. An email came across that Georgetown College was hiring English teachers to go to Japan and teach in the public school system. And so, I was, like I said, I've been blessed to travel, kind of adventurous. So hey, that sounds fun. And didn't really have anything tying me down here, so signed up to go. And then the touring around to different breweries led us to Baird Beer, and meeting Brian, our adventurous to travel the country looking for more beers, kind of waned because every time we had a free moment, we wanted to go to the tap room to hang out at Bear.
Yeah.
And that is where, if you could teleport right now to the Fish Market tap room in Japan, in Numaz, you'd see it looks like this, like we ripped it off. You know, it's random people, just a mix of all walks of life, meeting up in a little bitty spot, just drinking beer, eating some food.
That's awesome.
But it's based on the beer. You know, the beer's fantastic. It's awesome. And
So how long were you in Japan?
3 years total.
Okay.
I was there for a year, came back for a little bit, then went back for 2 more years. So I was there for 3 years, and it was there that we kind of crafted the idea for when we come back. You know, what's the tap room look like? What's a brewery look like in Lexington?
Did I hear that right? They spent 3 years in Japan teaching English? That's right. He and his now business partner Nathan went to Japan and taught English for 3 years, and this is really when their adventure started in business. They began a blog together called Good Beers and Country Boys. And then they got inspired by all the good craft beer in Japan, came back to America, and started what is now known as Country Boy Brewing. And I will say, if anybody can find any of those blogs on the internet somewhere, Please put them in the comments because I looked and I couldn't find them. So back to the video.
Nate's brother Evan just graduated grad school. Our partner Jeff at the time, who just retired, had a little more business experience than we did. We met him through the homebrew club. And basically the four of us got together. Jeff kicked us in the ass and was like, hey, if we're going to do this thing, let's quit talking about it. Let's start an LLC and sign a lease, look for a building and go. And we'd rather, we always said back then, we'd rather 15 years look back and say, we did it, it failed, but we gave it a try rather than look back and say, what if?
Did you guys have a vision for like, we're going to start small and then eventually we want to be like this thing?
We've never, like people talk about business plan and I'm blessed. People call me like an entrepreneur and all that kind of stuff. It's just totally misplaced, man. I'm just a dude that got lucky.
Yeah.
I had the benefit of knowing how to work hard. I got that from, my parents, but we just got lucky. You know, we want to make great beer and that's the only thing we knew what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
If our business plan back then would have been just make the best damn beer we can. Let's see, I hope we sell it. And if we make enough money, let's make some more. But it was kind of perfect storm, perfect timing, right place, right time. A lot of luck too. West 6 got opened around the same time we did. Just a groundswell of good beer in Lexington and in Kentucky and in the country, really.
Yeah. When Country Boy got their start, they were the 7th licensed brewery in the state of Kentucky in history. Although that 95% of the world's bourbon is made in the state of Kentucky, there hasn't always been a lot of beer made here. If you fast forward to today, there are 93 licensed breweries in the state of Kentucky, and there's 8,503 breweries in the United States of America. Back to the video.
Yeah, it's that dark stuff, or it's that bitter stuff. I don't like that. It's not for me.
Right.
And then we were able to come in and just say, hey, there's a movement. It's coming. It's you travel around the country, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Stones out west, or the Founders in Michigan, Dogfish on the east. Sam Adams, of course, in Boston. They've been preaching since the '80s, but it was coming here. It just hadn't made it yet. And to hear you say that we were kind of kicking it off is I don't look at it like that, I guess, because we're on the inside. But we were just happy to play a small part in the revitalization.
It was one of my first introductions to craft beer because, I started drinking beer. When did I start with Alltech? I guess in 2014. When I started with the company, that's when I started getting interested in more beers. And Country Boy was a beer, that was more drinkable for me to start into my journey of craft beer. So Cougar Bait was something that I enjoyed quite a bit because it was, I come from drinking domestic beers, so this transition into craft beer was pretty easy for me. And then it's oh, that was pretty good. Let me go try something else. Right. And then you develop a taste for IPAs and then you start having a taste for stouts. There's just so many different flavors.
I was into beer before I traveled, but it was the same way as you. Back then we all cut our teeth at Pazos. That Tom and and his
plenty of access to good beer.
Yeah, his just passion for not only the Belgian stuff, but then what he was doing as far as supporting the scene here in America. Pazos was a gym, and all of us went for pint night. What are you doing on Wednesday night? We got to be there at 6:30, get our table to get our pint glasses. And it'd be some beer that you tried to stomach it to get the pint glass down, and we'd all cheer for Blue Moon Pint Night back in the day. That was one beer we knew we could drink, and he was the gateway beer of wheat beers,
right,
to kind of get you in. But cut my teeth the same way. I just then when I got to Japan, there was just a void of good beer.
Yeah. And
then of course looking for another reason why we were looking for the breweries, because once you get the taste for what good beer tastes like, it's hard to go back.
I know. Yeah. It's you, it's Nathan,
his brother Evan, and our partner Jeff.
And then Jeff. So when you all started, did you all go get a bank loan? Did you get somebody to invest? Did you use your own money? Friends and family? How did you?
When we started in 2011 and made the LLC, we're all just personally funded. Each of us had saved up a little bit of money. When I say we started the company with our own money, don't think that I'm not a trust fund kid. We didn't have a lot of money to start with.
Yeah.
And if you would have been here in 2012 and seen what this tap room looked like in 2012, you would have said, they didn't have any money to start with. There were no windows at the time. We had one little window, painted brown, just looked like a bunch of 4 guys decorated it because that's who decorated it. A bunch of stuff from Evan and Nate's mom's garage and barns were threw up on the walls, like an old kayak hanging up, and a hornet's nest in the corner that they'd found in the woods somewhere. A couple of road signs that were stolen. We had no loans to get going. So we started debt-free, which allowed us to have a lot of flexibility, no outside investors, anything like that. Just the four of us are working, so we called the shots. So it gave us a lot of flexibility and, more risk taking because we didn't have to worry about we were beholden to somebody or making a payment.
Right.
Now, since we've upgraded, of course, when we went to Georgetown, we partnered with a couple banks that have helped us out and helped us grow to get where we're at now.
But you still kept the same 4 owners?
Yeah, still no outside investors, but just the 4 of us. Like I said, Jeff, one of our partners, just retired earlier in the year. A little bit older than we are, just a different season of his journey, and said it was time to sit on the other side of the bar, which he does quite often in Georgetown. So it's just the 3 of us, me, Evan, and Nate still.
Okay.
And they're all different business models. People, we have friends in the brewing world that have done it 1,000 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, not having anybody we have to answer to but us, that we could just say focuses on the beer, lets us do what we do.
Yeah. And one thing, the way I look at it too, like if I'm working with some startup or something, it's like, start small, but then grow smartly.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what you all have done. You started really small. Like I'm sure your brewery was probably like 1 barrel or 2 barrel when
We
you
had a
started.
two barrel system. So basically, like you had two barrel mash tuns and two barrel burner or boils.
Yeah. So
tiny.
Started very tiny, only in kegs, and it's like, okay, let's build up a following. Let's build up this culture around Country Boy, and then let's just kind of slowly grow and put our cash where it makes most sense for our return.
Didn't have any employees when we started. It was just us. So
Okay.
4 of us. That meant 4 of us are brewing, 4 of us are cleaning, 4 of us are bartending. Which back then the beer just started over the bar, no distribution. I don't think I knew what distribution was when we opened. So, yeah, we've always kind of grown slow and appropriately, we think. But at the same time, like the vision for Country Boy, I think as much as Lexington's and our customers as it is ours. Like, I never dreamed we'd be where we are now.
I didn't know that you all were going to get to that point either. It's like, bam, all of a sudden, this huge place in Georgetown.
There are sometimes that I look at it and still, like, I have to stop and be like, well, what are we doing? Like, we're still here in Florida now? Like, that's crazy. Like, we do that really? That sounds like somebody else. But
is that a cavalier relationship in Florida? Okay.
And a lot of that is just the people that we've hired in the past. Since we started hiring people to, out of the gate, or when we started about a year in, our folks the vision is their vision now.
Yeah.
Evan and Nate and I can only do so much. The vision is our people's vision now.
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun to see where do they want to take it? Where do they see it growing?
That's cool.
And hence that's how we get together.
All right, where do you want to start?
Let's check it out in the back, man, where it all started.
Looking at this brewery, to me, I know this is your smaller brewery, probably a pilot, I would say now, and it supplies the tap room. But even this, for somebody to get started in the brewing industry, this is a big investment just in itself.
All the equipment that we're going to use, from the brew system to the fermenters to the packaging equipment, everything's just, everything's gone up in price anyway, but it's all very capital intensive to get into it. Now, when we started, luckily, things were much cheaper, as well as all this equipment. The only tank here that was brand new when we bought it is this 10-barrel fermenter right here. That's the first brand new piece of equipment that the brewery ever purchased. I can remember when it came in, and the box that it came in, we thought we had made it right, when this little 10-barrel came in. But everything else, we've either got used. The brew system itself came from Aviator Brewing in Fuquay Varina, North Carolina. The 60-barrel tanks we have in Georgetown, we moved up there, actually came from West 6 when they expanded. Some of these tanks have come from all over.
Did you get everything mostly used?
Everything used. Everything that we have here in the facility was used, except for that 10-barrel fermenter, the small one right back there. The boil kettle we have now is actually new, but because we brewed so much on the other one, the original one, that we burned it up. But everything else,
literally
burned it up. But yeah, you can just see it's all.
So it kind of starts here, right? This is your
grain room is over here.
Hot water tank. All right, so you got a grain room here.
So all here in Lexington, all the grain comes in bags, has to be loaded to the mill manually. So all the bags are lifted, cut open, dumped in there by all our good folks. Very, very, very little automation here. In fact, none, virtually. But Evan and Nate like it because you really get to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Georgetown has a little bit more automation, but here you get to really feel and get a sense for how we're making beer.
Right.
You're touching it. There's no valves that you're just hitting a button. You're actually hooking hoses up. You're opening them manually. You're stirring the mash. You get a really, really hands-on approach here, which we think translates to great quality beer. On the backside of it. But yeah, it starts in the grain room, goes through the mill, goes up to auger.
I'm gonna go in here and take a look.
Yeah. You see that nice brew paddle there?
I see that.
Converted boat oar. So again, the brewers here, everything's very, very manual labor, hands-on.
That's like a very country boy thing to have, I feel like.
A lot of those little nuances and things here in Lexington that didn't make the trip to Georgetown. But
can we walk up this?
Go for it.
All right, so we talked a lot about your Georgetown facility, how it's kind of like much different from this one. It's more automated, much bigger facility in that expansion. So, yeah, I think we should go see it.
Let's take a road trip.
Let's go. All right, so we're here at the Country Boy Brewing Georgetown facility in Scott County, Kentucky. We're gonna figure out how they turned a small little brewing operation into what is now the expansion project of Country Boy, and I'm gonna brew a beer. All right, so we're in the Georgetown tap room.
Welcome.
I think like all tours, on a beer tour, should start with a beer.
Start with the pint.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's do it.
You remember where we were in Lexington?
Yep.
The little bitty closet of a grain room. Now we have a little more dedicated space to it. You'll see right now we're actively running. So that's ground grain that's left the mill. It's going through our cable-based system, taking that crushed grain all the way to the grist case, and then it'll go from the grist case into the mash slaughter tun here.
That's awesome.
So, in a perfect world, your grain and your grain setup in your mill is in a separate area, both for cleanliness and the dust and everything else. As well as some efficiencies as far as how do we get it there. So our silos are outside, as you saw, you pull up, full of 2-row base malt.
So it's all your whole grains outside.
Right, of the base malt of the beer. You see right now it's going to come in through the auger. That's coming straight from the silos out back. Go through our flow meter to make sure we got the current amount that's going in. From there into our roller mill. The mill's going to pop all those grains open, and you saw that cable system?
Yeah.
That's running. So what it's doing, instead of an auger, you saw that small setup that we had at Lexington. An auger over distance will further beat up the grain. But we want the crush that comes out of the mill, we want to make sure we keep that. Because we're traveling such a long distance, we don't want to auger it. We have this chain drag system. So basically it's a cup on a chain, it sends it and it comes back in a loop. It's very, very gentle to the grain. Best process for us to make sure that the grain, the crush we get when we come out of the mill, is the same thing that we're going to brew with. Follow with your eyes, you can see it'll track all the way up top, so it's out of the way, into our grist case here, the one that the tank has the logo on it. It looks like a fermenter because it's got that bottom on it, but actually this holds our ground grain. From there, secondary system fires up when we're ready. You're going to take it into the mash tun. And right now, it looks like you see the light in the middle here. Looks like Ben and Mac are transferring. So remember I was telling you before, the liquids when it seep through that grain bed, go through that bottom, and go into the boil kettle. Here, you can see on such a larger scale. See that sight glass in the middle? That's actually the work that's coming through. It's going to go into the boil kettle. We'll go up there and let the guys take it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ben, you transferring right now?
Yeah, we're going into the kettle right now, and I'm also going into a fermenter from the Whirlpool. So we're about to finish knocking out.
So see, he's got multiple brews going today.
Okay.
Like I said, the system here at Georgetown just allows us a lot of flexibility and efficiencies to be able to turn out a ton of beer on a daily basis. So Ben, what he's going to do, he's going to check the gravity of the beer, make sure we got the right extraction of sugars or everything else that we need, and make sure we're hitting all our numbers, and then send it to the boil kettle, hit it boiling.
That's awesome.
And we're making beer. The great thing about Georgetown in this setup is everything in the building was designed with beer in mind, and great beer and efficient beer, both with processes and efficiencies of time for our people as well. And so it's fun when you see the layout of everything. It should be a circular setup of the birth of the beer, as far as grain, the brew house, fermentation, packaging, and then shipping as far as where the cooler and everything is. So it'll be a fun little trip. Hot and cold liquor tanks we have here that we don't have in Lexington. Especially all of our processed water is cold and then hot. Cold water used to chill the wort down that's coming off, like I told you. That one fun thing here, the cold water that robs the heat out of the wort that's coming off. Now that water's hot or warmer, so it gets recycled back into the hot liquor tank here to get used to make the next batch of beer. Anytime water's going down the drain, it's waste, right? Anytime we've got ingredients that we're not using all the way, that's pennies down the drain, and it's, we want to minimize our impact on the environment as much as we can. Two yeast tanks is where our yeast springs to keep our yeast healthy. One of the other fun things we have in Georgetown is this is where Kelly is. He's our lab director. So we have a full-time lab director on site, and her job is just to make sure the beer is clean and tasting great, brilliantly great. So she spends all her time making sure we don't have any bacterial growth. She's checking beer and the wort every step along the way to make sure that everything's good and healthy. It's a very, very important part of the process, having somebody like that that's dedicated to the quality of the beer 24/7.
That's awesome.
Her lab is back over here. Kelly's all the time plating up stuff. So whether she's taking, whether it's beer samples, or she's taking swabs and different stuff around the brewery to make sure we don't have any spoiling bacteria floating around here. Fermentation bay. So you saw, like we said, we had 10 total fermenters in Lexington, our largest there being a 30 barrel. These are all 100s on the back. And then these are all 200s on the front side with some 50s and 60s on the other side. This is an oversized 200 barrel, 275 barrel for headspace. So this is the largest beer fermenter in Kentucky. So really? Yeah, we had to say beer fermenter because our friends in the bourbon world let us know they're much larger than ours are.
We'd get zinged for that one.
Right. But the other 200s aren't as oversized as this guy is. It's a very difficult one to get in the building. We kind of made it a little bit too tall. We just added the other 200s down. And again, like I was saying, here in Georgetown, the facility's built that all we have to do now is just start adding more tanks. The system will keep up very, very well as we grow, as new territories open, as more and more beer is sold, more tanks get dropped in, we can expand pretty easily.
So cool.
Like I was talking before, all the fermenters here are temperature controlled. It's a little bit cleaner setup as you saw in Lexington, but all the black piping you see up top is the glycol system. And then all these tanks are actually controlled from the computer on the brew stand. So we can open that up, see the temperature of every tank, and then decide how we're going to set the parameters if we want to crash a tank or anything like that. Can we control from one central location?
There's so much engineering that goes into this, but people probably don't really realize.
So we worked with a company that sold us the brew house to kind of lay it out how we wanted as far as the flow of everything. Then they kind of made their recommendations on what they've seen from industry standards and things of that nature. Keg washing back here, keg washing station, as well as a centrifuge. We have a centrifuge here and in Lexington. We don't believe in like all different types of regular filter beer. We think a centrifuge is the best, keeps the beer alive, maintains the integrity of the flavor. So we're firm believers in centrifuge beer. We're lucky to have one at each location there. And again, it's a testament to our investment that we believe that that's best for the beer. So even though they're expensive, we need one at each spot. Earthly Labs is a cool setup. That's our CO2 reclamation system. Still in the works, but all the byproduct CO2 that's produced through fermentation, we're trying to recapture that instead of buying it, which we have to do for processes. As much as we can take a byproduct that we're already using, capture it, use it. Not only is it good for the bottom line, but better for the environment.
Right.
Originally, the building stopped right here. We showed an expansion when we built this building. We thought, hey, if we ever get to the point where we're growing, we'll add on. Well, about 2 years in, we decided, hey, let's go ahead and add that because we were running out of room. All the cans you see here, well, the majority of the cans are empty. This is all just aluminum can stock for where we're canning. Storage of grain, raw materials, random stuff that we have, as well as the main point of the expansion was the canning line. The old canning line was an inline canning line. Served us great for a long time, but max you could get out of it was 38, 39, 40 cans a minute if it's running absolutely immaculately. As we started putting more and more cans on the market, we thought, hey, we need to upgrade our canning line. So Jordan is our canning line operator. This is a microbrew CFT line, 10-head rotary filler counter pressure system. It's better for the beer, helps with shelf life. We're making sure we're x-raying cans to make sure that there's no low fills going out to the market. And just from top to bottom, this was a huge step for the brewery as far as not only the efficiencies in canning the product, but also the quality of the beer for a long time on the shelf. So in 2012, we did 500 barrels of beer. First year we were open. A barrel to us is 31 gallons, and all that beer sold directly across the bar. 2022, we should hit north of 20,000 barrels, which would be our biggest year. Still pales in comparison from even the biggest of the craft breweries. Yeah. But it's a huge step not only for us, the team, but Kentucky beer in general. And I think all the breweries that are out there are cranking out more beer this year than they did last year.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look back at your Lexington facility, when you got started with just like a 1-2 barrel system, and now it's like, look at all this. Like, it has to be a moment where you're like, wow, this is crazy.
Driving into work sometimes in the morning, I'll round the corner when we see the building and like stop, and be like, wow, is that the brewery? Like, even still, I have pinched myself moments, but it's a testament to the team, man. We got the greatest men and women in the industry, and that's no offense to the other great people that work in Kentucky beer, but our team's second to none. And the vision that Nate and Evan and I and Jeff had back in the day to get started, they've just taken it and ran with it. And sometimes I look at it and think, could we have ever done this without our folks? Absolutely not. Yeah. It's on their shoulders and their vision that's got us where we are today, and I'm just blessed to play a small part of it. Indiana, a little bit into Ohio, West Virginia, a little bit into Virginia and Tennessee, all of Kentucky, obviously, and then we just opened up Florida. There's some synergies with our distributor in Indiana with distribution in Florida. Yeah. And then beyond that, we'll see. Demand's growing here. Demand's growing in our markets that we're already in. So we're not, out rushing to open up, all 50-state distribution. Like we said before, we've grown slowly, we've grown appropriately, deliberately. Yeah. And so we'll take that same mantra when it comes to the distribution world of, we'll make sure we're taking care of the markets that we're in and servicing them to the best of our ability. And then if there's a desire and if there's a want to get the beer out there to more and more people, then we'll meet it.
That's such a smart approach. And if you're listening to this, like, do this approach, because a lot of breweries that put a lot of investment in, like they talk, volume, we need to be in every state, we need to, you know what I mean? It's like they blitz scale and then they fail.
In the industry, we've seen it, time and time again of just that. Let's open up distribution in X state or Y state and just send them a bunch of beer and then pray that they order again. They might not. But the reality is once you sit your beer out and it sets on the shelf or it goes out of code or someone has a bad experience with it, you're not going to get it. Where they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Yeah. Somebody's had a bad experience with your beer or it's gone stale or stagnant in the market. You never get a second chance to relaunch that market. You never get a second chance to touch the customer again to let them know the integrity that your brand has. And we frankly just think too much of the product that we make. Our guys and girls that work here work real damn hard to make the best beer in America, we think, and we don't take that lightly. So the fact that we're going to treat that product with the utmost care, and we don't want it to get we don't want to get off our skis as far as distribution goes. Because we want to make sure we're still controlling very tightly how that beer's treated, how that beer's handled, how that beer's ordered, how that beer's sold, so the customer at the end of the day, when they taste it, can say, no wonder this is what all the hype's about. Country Boy beer is as good as everybody says it is. Friends in the bourbon world and I argue all the time because I'm like, man, you all make this product. It sleeps in a barrel a long time. You put it in a bottle, it goes to the distributor, goes to the shelf, and sits there for forever and just is better with age, some people think. With us, we guarantee our beer, most of our beer is 90 days. So that means 90 days from the minute that it goes to the canning line, it gets the date put on the bottom of it, it's put in the cooler, ordered by the distributor, picked up by the distributor, delivered to the distributor's warehouse, ordered by the account, sold to the account, delivered to the account, put on tap at the account, sold all the way through to the customer in 90 days. And if not, we say our beer's out of code. It's a lot of moving parts that have to be watched and regulated and making sure that we're appropriate with. But also, it's just a testament to how good our team is, that we're balancing all that logistical framework that has to happen, and we do a really good job of it.
Yeah.
Probably what we're about to do is it's going to ruin you.
Oh no.
So you'll never, unless you're here with me again,
Which I hope it's again soon.
But you're never going to have a beer this fresh ever again.
Okay.
So we're just going to grab one right off.
What's the brew date on this? Do we see that?
So this one hasn't even gone through the date coder yet. The date coder's on that side.
This is special.
We grabbed it straight off the line.
Special.
It's the freshest. Halfway home.
Cheers, man. Oh my gosh.
So
that'll change your life.
it's hard to explain to people who've never had beer that fresh, but beer, especially craft beer, extremely perishable. Like I said, we take great care of making it. The flavors in it are never going to be as fresh as they are the day it comes off the line. Now we know we've taken the care and the quality to make sure the beer's going to last. But there's nothing like that taste as soon as it comes out. Lid hasn't been on that can for 10 seconds.
It's ice cold. All right, so we're drinking Halfway Home here.
Halfway Home, this is our pale ale. It's in our Variety Packs series with our Cougar Bait, which is our #1 bestseller. American Blonde Ale, Shotgun Wedding, Vanilla Brown Ale, Halfway Home, and then Cliff Jumper, our IPA.
Yeah, so Cougar Bait, does it rank like way up there apart from all of your other brands?
Yeah, so majority of everything we produce and sell here is Cougar Bait, and that's a little bit misleading there because that brand also gets translated into our Kedon Cougar Bait, as well as Nacho Bait, which we use seasonally now, a hot pepper version of that beer. Cougar Bait by far, well, this is the house that Cougar Bait built.
Yeah, so tell us the story about Cougar Bait. Like, how'd that start?
Man, I would
That.
love to tell you there's like this big theme behind it, and it's like rooted in lore, but that is the one beer that we never homebrewed. We had basically a lot of our other brands we had homebrew recipes for. But when we opened in Lexington, we knew we needed something light, easy drinking, something that would be not so intimidating to the non-craft beer initiated. And so we knew what style it would be. There was one night we were driving. One of the only times all four of us were on a trip together. We drove to Michigan to get our original small brew house. Jeff and Nate were driving back, and Jeff said, "Hey, I think we should call this beer Cougar Bait," but it was in German. He had looked it up, and he's like, "It's just a funny name, be kind of fanciful and cute." And Nate said, "Well, we're not German, so why don't we just call it Cougar Bait?" And there was literally no more thought put into it than that. Put it on the shelf, or put it on the board when it first came out. Wrote that up there. People thought, it's a funny name. Yeah, fanciful gives the liquid some personality, and it just overnight took. And before we knew it, everyone's asking for a Cougar Bait.
That's awesome.
So it's just like one of those things. There's really no huge story behind it. We just kind of fell into it with luck, and now Cougar Bait's synonymous with our brand.
Like, if you go back and think, like, what would our brand look like today without Cougar Bait? Like,
I don't think
Country Boy would not be in this facility.
I don't think we'd be standing here. So
it's just amazing.
It's crazy. And even now, I see people like tailgate at UK games drinking the orange can, and different events on tap around town. So again, one of those pinch me moments. See that brand has just become so ingrained in the. Not just the beer drinking Kentuckian, but the Kentuckian's lifestyle. So we're honored to play a part of that.
Ooh, anniversary beer meeting. We should sit in on that. This is Nate's office and Pete?
Pete and Nate share this office.
I'm going to mess with them here somehow. What should I write on the board?
Well, you're in control of our 2023 brand strategy at the moment, it looks like. So
here's the strategy.
It's a good strategy.
So we got what? Caramel Malt 60.
Caramel 60 yet?
Not to give away the Cougar Bait recipe.
Yeah.
Just jump it in. You ready?
Yeah.
How many of these bags go in?
Just one of each.
Oh, you have to work out today. I'm just going to be lifting these 50-pound bags. We're going in.
We'll put in about 2,200 pounds of grain here, 800 gallons of water, and then we'll let that sit for probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And then we'll go on with the next step, which would be running off into the kettle. But
We're 10 years old, which is crazy to me because it feels like we were started yesterday. But don't count on Dad out. Next 10 are gonna be way better than this one. Just stay tuned. It's a lot of fun stuff coming from the best damn team in the world, making the best damn beer.
that was good.